"Daddy, why is the house always so quiet?" The question never made it out loud, but it lived in the silence that swallowed the mansion every morning. Michael Hall had everything men were taught to chase: a glass and steel empire, boardrooms that bent to his voice, and a house so large it echoed when he walked through it alone at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. He was home too early with a headache he couldn't buy away. The marble floors were spotless, the air was cold, and somewhere upstairs, his daughter Lily existed more like a memory than a child, withdrawn, wordless, frozen. Since the day her mother died, Michael told himself the silence meant order, control, success. But the truth was simpler and far more brutal: the silence meant absence. He had filled Lily's world with the best doctors, the most expensive therapists, toys she never touched, and rooms she never laughed in. He paid for everything except the one thing she needed: presence. So he worked longer, traveled farther, letting the house raise his child while he built an empire that couldn't hold her pain. Then one morning, everything cracked. From the far end of the house, something impossible floated through the air. Laughter. Not polite, not forced, but a child's laughter, wild, bright, and alive. Michael stopped breathing. It was coming from the greenhouse, the place he hadn't entered since his wife died. And there, bathed in sunlight and green life, was his daughter on the shoulders of Aisha, a woman hired 3 weeks earlier as a housekeeper. Michael stood in the shadows of the hallway, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He watched through the glass panes as Aisha, her dark skin glowing in the morning light, spun Lily around. They weren't cleaning, they were planting. Mud was smeared on Lily's expensive white dress, the kind of mess Michael would usually have found unacceptable, but Lily didn't care. She was clutching a handful of dirt as if it were gold, her face lit with a spark Michael thought had been buried in the cemetery 2 years ago. Aisha was singing a low, rhythmic song in a language Michael didn't recognize, her voice a warm contrast to the sterile, climate-controlled air of the mansion. Michael felt a surge of something he couldn't name, half jealousy, half shame. He was the one who provided the soil, the seeds, and the glass roof, yet he was a stranger in his own sanctuary. As the days turned into weeks, Michael began coming home early more often, hiding in the library or the hallway just to listen. He learned things about his daughter that no therapist's report had ever mentioned. He learned that Lily loved the smell of rosemary because it reminded her of her mother's kitchen. He learned that she was terrified of the dark, not because of monsters, but because the dark felt like forever. He watched Aisha listen to Lily with a gravity that Michael had never afforded her. When Lily spoke, Aisha stopped what she was doing. She didn't check a watch or a phone, she gave the girl the rarest currency in the world: undivided attention. One afternoon, Michael saw Aisha sitting on the kitchen floor with Lily, eating simple bread and jam. This was a child Michael had tried to feed the finest organic meals prepared by private chefs, meals she had always pushed away. The tension broke on a rainy Thursday. Michael had lost a major contract, his ego was bruised, and the silence of the house felt like an accusation. He walked into the kitchen and saw Aisha and Lily painting directly onto the expensive tile backsplash. "What is this?" he barked, his voice booming. Lily flinched, the light leaving her eyes instantly. She dropped her brush, the red paint splattering like a wound on the white floor. Aisha didn't flinch. She stood up slowly, wiping her hands on her apron, and looked Michael directly in the eye. She didn't look at him like a billionaire or a boss, she looked at him like a man who was starving in the middle of a feast. "We are making a memory, Mr. Hall," she said quietly. "The tiles can be washed. The time cannot." Michael wanted to fire her. He wanted to scream about the cost of the marble and the importance of discipline. But then he looked at Lily, who was hiding behind Aisha's skirt, trembling. He realized in that moment that his daughter wasn't afraid of the mess, she was afraid of him. The realization hit him harder than any market crash ever could. He had built a fortress to protect his grief, only to realize he had accidentally entombed his daughter inside it with him. He sat down at the kitchen island, his head in his hands, and for the first time in 2 years, the great Michael Hall let the mask slip. He told Aisha about the headache that wouldn't go away, the fear that he was losing his mind, and the crushing weight of trying to be enough by doing everything except being there. Aisha didn't offer platitudes. She didn't tell him it would be okay. Instead, she handed him a paintbrush. "Your daughter doesn't need a king, Michael," she said, using his first name for the first time. "She needs a father who isn't afraid to get his hands dirty." That evening, the billionaire didn't return to his office. He stayed on the kitchen floor. He painted a clumsy, crooked sun next to Lily's flowers. He listened to her talk about her school, her dreams, and her sadness. He realized that for years, he had been treating Lily like a broken machine that needed fixing, rather than a garden that needed tending. The transformation of the Hall household wasn't overnight. There were still days of silence and moments of grief, but the order Michael once prized was replaced by a beautiful, chaotic life. He started firing clients who demanded his weekends. He turned the boardroom into a place where he finished work by 5 p.m. He kept Aisha, not as a housekeeper, but as a part of the family, recognizing that she had saved them both from a life of gilded isolation. The neighborhood began to notice the change, not because of the cars in the driveway, but because of the sounds coming from the backyard. Years later, when Lily was graduating from university, she was asked what her favorite childhood memory was. She didn't talk about the trips to Paris or the diamond jewelry her father bought her. She spoke about a Tuesday morning when her father came home early, ruined a $3,000 suit by sitting in the mud, and helped her plant a lemon tree that still grew in the center of their greenhouse. Michael, sitting in the front row, realized that his greatest achievement wasn't the empire he built, but the silence he broke. The story of the billionaire who arrived early isn't a story about money, it's a reminder that the most luxurious thing you can ever own is the time you spend with the people who love you. Because at the end of the day, a house is just a building, but a home is wherever you choose to show up.